The stars outside Ethan Voss's ship looked calm, but he knew better. Space was never peaceful for long. Ethan was a former Earth soldier turned scavenger. After the war between the Galactic Federations, space was filled with broken ships, floating, metal, and dead machines, made a living collecting scrap. Quiet, simple, and far away from politics, just how he liked it. But today, something was different. As he flew near a silent debris field on the edge of the Alcaris Rift, his ship's scanner beeped. It wasn't metal or junk. It was an emergency. Beacon weak, but real. Unregistered Sorellan signal, the ship's AI said. Possibly a life pod. Ethan frowned. The Sorellans were a proud and powerful alien race, with bright blue skin, tall frames, and royal customs. They didn't usually need help, and they didn't like humans. Still, a distress signal was a distress signal. He turned the ship, guided it through floating wreckage, and stopped near a small silver pot. Its hull, blackened from damage, half buried in drifting cables and debris. The beacon flickered weakly. He suited up, locked into the airlock, and drifted toward the pod inside. The scene was shocking. A young alien woman lay still, strapped to a broken medical chair. Her legs were twisted unnaturally, and a strange glowing spinal device sparked weakly behind her back. Her breathing was shallow. Her skin was pale blue, but her eyes were closed. Her clothes were ripped, though still finely madrigal patterns. Her long white hair was tangled but elegant. She wasn't dead yet, but close. Ethan tapped his cum. AI, prepare medical bay. This one's alive. He brought her aboard, careful with her fragile form. She was light, too light, was clear. She hadn't eaten in days. Once inside, Ethan connected her to his ship's older but working life support systems. He scanned the alien device on her back. It was damaged, possibly a spinal stabilizer. Without it, her body couldn't heal. She's Sorellan nobility, he muttered. What are you doing all the way out here? Hours passed. Ethan worked nonstop. He had no proper parts for her device, but Earth tech could be modified. He cut, rewired, adjusted, and prayed. Finally, her breathing evened out. The lights on the device blinked slowly stable. Ethan sat back. Exhausted, she stirred. Her eyes opened a bright violet glow. Her gaze locked on his. She tried to speak but coughed. Instead, easy, Ethan said. You're safe now. She blinked again, lips trembling. Then she whispered, Who are you? Name's Ethan. I found your pod. You're lucky I was nearby. Her face twisted, pain visible. She tried to move, but her legs didn't respond. Can't feel my legs, she said weakly. That device on your back was broken. I fixed it as best I could. She looked around the ship. This is a human vessel. That a problem? Ethan asked. She was quiet. No. Then she said, No. You saved me. He gave a small nod. What's your name? I am Kalira. She said, Daughter of the High Empress of Sorella. Ethan's eyebrows lifted. Royalty, huh? She nodded slowly. My escape pod was damaged. Sabotaged. They wanted me dead. The Zarn Syndicate, they destroyed my family. Took over the palace. Escaped, but barely. Her voice broke slightly, but she kept her head high. They think I'm dead. They do that to you? Because I'm the last heir, she said. If I live, the rebellion lives. If I die, they win. Ethan leaned back. This was more than he expected. He thought he found a hurt traveler, not the last hope of a fallen empire. You're not safe here, he said. They might still be tracking your signal. Kalira's eyes widened. Yes, the signal. Ethan jumped to the console and turned off the beacon. Too late. A red light flashed on the screen. Another ship fast unmarked was approaching. Looks like they found you, Ethan said. He fired up the engines. His ship wasn't built for fighting. It was an old freighter. It's full of tools and crates, not weapons. But Ethan had one thing they didn't expect. Human stubbornness. He pulled the ship into an asteroid belt, flying between massive floating rocks. The enemy ship followed, trying to lock on. Hang on, he told Kalira, tightening the belts on her chair. He dipped low, released 2 old mining drones into space, then detonated them behind him. The blast filled space with heat and static jamming sensors. The enemy lost track. The ship pulled away, confused. Ethan punched the controls and went into stealth mode. After an hour, the scanner went quiet. No signs of pursuit. He let out a breath and turned to Kalira. We're safe. For now. She looked at him, truly looked at him. No one has risked their life for me since the palace fell, she said softly. You are different. He shrugged. Just doing what's right. No, she said. You are more than that. For a long moment they sat in silence, floating through the stars. Then she winced. Her spinal device sparked again. Need maintenance. That device cannot last. I'll fix it, Ethan said. Might not be fancy, but Earth tech has its uses. She gave a weak smile. You are strange, human. But I think the stars sent you to me. Ethan looked out. The window stars stretching forever. Maybe they did. Ethan Voss didn't sleep that night, while Princess Kalira rested in the medbay. Her body weak but stable, Ethan sat at the ship's control panel. Watching the radar, the second ship was still there. It didn't follow closely. It stayed just far enough to avoid detection by normal systems, but Ethan had added old military sensors to his freighter. That's how he saw it quiet, dark, tracking them like a shadow. They're not leaving, he muttered. He zoomed in. The ship had no ID, no broadcast signal, and no reply to hails. That meant only one thing: Zarn Syndicate. Ethan set the autopilot to drift into a nearby nebula cloud. The gas would mess with scanners, would buy them time. Then he went back to Kalira. She was awake now, sitting upright with effort. The repair Ethan made to her spinal device had worked better than expected. Her upper body was strong, and she could move her arms freely. Her legs, however, still didn't respond. I saw the shadow ship, she said quietly. Ethan nodded. They've been on our tail since the asteroid belt. You were right. They really want you dead. Her eyes lowered. They fear me, she said. Ethan sat beside her, crossing his arms. So tell me, what do you represent? Kalira took a breath. In my world, the royal line is more than a title. It is bonded to something ancient, something powerful. We call it the Luminara Core. Each empress is connected to it. We carry knowledge, energy, and memory from all rulers before us. That's a lot of responsibility, Ethan, said Kale. Ira gave a sad smile. Yes, and a great danger. Yes. The Zarn Syndicate cannot control the core, so they tried to destroy it. When they failed, they came for me. Your spine implant, Ethan said, realizing something. It's part of it, isn't it? She nodded. They tampered with it. Damaged it so I could not move. They hoped I would die slowly, out of sight. But you didn't. No, she said, her voice firm. Because you saved me. Ethan looked at her, surprised by the strength. In her voice, I only patched some wires, he said. To you, maybe, she replied. But to me, it was a light in the darkness. There was a pause, and the ship jolted, slightly light turbulence from entering the nebula. The screens flickered, and the radar went fuzzy. Ethan checked the controls. We've got a few hours before they can track us again. He stood up and moved to the back of the ship. After a moment, Kalira called out, Ethan, don't. You risk much for someone you don't know. Ethan shrugged. War taught me one thing: nobody deserves to die just because others are greedy. She tilted her head. You were a soldier? Yeah, he said, his voice distant. Earth didn't always stay neutral. We got dragged into border conflicts. I saw too much, so I left. And now you drift alone? She asked. Better than following orders I don't believe in. Kalira nodded slowly. Then maybe we are alike. Later, Ethan brought Kalira food. She ate carefully, her hands still a little shaky. He noticed how different she looked, now less like a broken royal, and more like someone learning to fight again. I need to find the Sorellan resistance, she said. They will hide me. Help me recover fully. You know where they are? Yes, they move often. But I know one place: they sometimes visit the wastes of Varnes. It's dangerous, but it's the only chance I have. Varney's, Ethan sighed. Of course, it's Varney's. I've been there. It's a giant desert moon filled with smugglers, pirates, and poison wind. She smiled faintly. Then you'll fit right in. Ethan rolled his eyes, then said, We'll head there after we shake our tail. Just then, an alert beeped. The radar blinked to ships now. They've called for backup, Ethan said. Kalira gripped the side of her seat. If they catch us in this nebula, we're done. He activated a signal beacon and threw it out into space in the opposite direction. Then spun the ship hard left toward a dead asteroid inside the nebula. We'll hide in the rock, he said. Let them chase the ghost. Kalira held on tightly as the ship entered a small cave within the asteroid. The engines powered down, and the lights dimmed. Darkness filled the ship. Only quiet breathing remained. Minutes passed. Then the radar showed the two enemy ships flying past them toward the fake beacon. It worked. Ethan whispered. Kalira leaned back, relief on her face. You are clever, prefer experienced, he said. After some rest, Kalira surprised Ethan by trying to stand. He rushed forward. Careful, but she held up a hand. With shaky arms, she pushed herself off the chair, legs hanging limp, feet dragging slightly. Still, she stood. Ethan stared, stunned. That's not supposed to be possible, he said. Kalira gritted. Her teeth, you stabilized the damage, can feel strength returning. Not much, but enough. Ethan helped her sit again, slowly. You really are tougher than you look, he said. She looked into his eyes. And you are more than a simple scavenger. There was a long pause. Then she said something unexpected. In my world, when someone saves the life of a royal, we owe them a bond, not of duty, but of meaning. Ethan blinked. Meaning. Meaning. Nodded. I don't expect you to understand now, but you should know I will not forget this. The journey to Varney's was slow and tense. Ethan kept the ship in stealth mode, avoiding all patrols. He knew the Zarn bounty would spread fast. If anyone scanned Kalira's DNA or saw her face, they'd report it. Where she was now part of the bounty, the ship's AI confirmed it. Bounty placed by the Zarn Syndicate, it had said. Target, Princess Kalira. Reward doubled if captured with human protector. Ethan only chuckled. I'm not even famous, he muttered. Guess that changed. Kalira sat in the medbay, slowly stretching her arms. Each day, she regained more control. Her spine implant, repaired with Earth's tools, was working better than anyone expected. She could now move her arms easily, lift small objects, and even shift her legs slightly. Her mind was sharper too. She spent hours studying the ship's layout, reviewing star maps, preparing herself mentally for what was to come. Ethan brought her water one evening and found her staring at a map of Varney's. It's not exactly friendly, he said. You sure this is where the resistance is? It's a hidden base, she replied. Inside the lower mines, only those with a royal code can enter, which you have. She tapped her temple. No one else has it. Ethan sat across from her. We land there, and then what? You walk in and take back your empire? Kalira shook her head slowly. No, I prove I'm still alive. I help rebuild. Slowly, carefully. I'm not just trying to rule, I want to lead. The right way. He nodded. I respect that. They sat in silence for a moment, then Kalira looked at him. You ask no reward? Why? Ethan looked down. Seen too many people ask for rewards and lose their souls. I just want to do the right thing. Kalira's gaze softened. In Sorellan culture, she said, such selfless acts are sacred. We call it bond of honor when someone saves a royal life and expects nothing in return. The royal must offer something greater than wealth. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Like what? A promise, she said. A future. A bond deeper than duty. Ethan blinked. Are you saying? Not now, she interrupted gently. But I want you to understand, you have changed the course of my life. 2 days later, they arrived at Varna's. It was a dusty red moon with sharp winds and long shadows. The surface was filled with old mining stations and half-buried ruins. Small groups of smugglers, scavengers, and mercenaries lived. In hidden camps, Ethan landed the ship near a dead canyon. Kalira, wearing a thick robe to hide her royal marks, leaned on his arm as they exited. Her legs still didn't work well, but she insisted on walking one step at a time with Ethan's help. The canyon path led to a sealed door covered in sand and vines. Kalira reached out, pressing her hand on the scanner. A blue light blinked. Voice code required, the system said. Kalira spoke clearly. I am Kalira of House Saranis, last of the royal blood. I seek shelter and return. There was a pause. Then the door creaked open. Inside was a dim tunnel, lit by flickering green lights. Armed guards in armor stepped forward, weapons raised until they saw her face. Princess. One of them whispered. She nodded. Yes, I am alive. Beside the base, everything moved fast. Messages were sent. Leaders were summoned. A healer examined Kalira and confirmed her identity. When they learned she had survived the Kuwand, escaped with a human, they were shocked. Most resistance members had believed her dead. Her return changed everything, but not everyone was happy. Some whispered doubts. A human. Helping the princess, why? That evening, Kalira stood before the Resistance Council. Ethan stood beside her, silent. I owe my life to this man, she said. He repaired my broken spine. He protected me when no one else could. Risked his life even after learning who I was. The room was quiet. He is not one of us, she continued. But he has the heart of a true protector. I ask that he be recognized under Sorellan honor. Laz, my bonded guardian. Gasps filled the hall. Ethan stepped forward. I didn't ask for this, but I'll keep standing by her, because it's right. One of the older council members stood, then let it be known. By her voice, you are accepted. The others nodded slowly. Later, in a quiet chamber, Kalira stood with help from 2 crutches. Ethan watched as she practiced walking. Her face was full of determination. You're improving fast, he said. Because of you, she replied. Because now I have a reason. Ethan moved beside her. What happens now? Kalira looked at him. Now, I must rebuild a broken empire, and for that, I need allies I can trust. She reached out and took his hand. You saved my life, Ethan. But more than that, you showed me the strength of humanity. I was raised to believe humans were wild, selfish, unreliable, and now I see honor, courage, kindness. She hesitated, then added, I see something I want beside me, always. Ethan felt a strange warmth rise in his chest. Then the base alarm sounded. Zarn's ship detected, someone shouted. Ethan grabbed his blaster. Looks like we're not done yet. Red lights flashed across the hidden base. Sirens howled. The echo of boots filled the tunnels. Zarn's ship incoming, someone shouted. 1 Hunter-class drone confirmed. Ethan Voss didn't waste time. He grabbed his old blaster, checked the power cell, and looked at Kalira. She was standing, leaning on crutches, her eyes calm but focused. Do you have defenses? Ethan asked the nearby guard. Some, the man replied, nervous. But not against a hunter drone. Hunter drones were the Syndicate's most feared weapon. Bioengineered machines with alien intelligence, built to track and kill marked targets. Ethan had faced one in the war. He knew how deadly they were. Kalira turned to the council leader. Evacuate the children and elders. Take them through the lower tunnels. The leader nodded and gave the order. Ethan leaned close to her. We need to move you to a safer place? No, Kalira said firmly. I'm done hiding. You're still healing, he reminded her. She looked into his eyes, then let them see a princess who fights. Ethan gave a small smile. You're stubborn. So are you, she said, and for a moment, both of them forgot the danger outside. Then the ceiling shook. The Zarn ship had landed, outside the base. Dust swirled around the rocky canyon. The hunter drone dropped from the ship like a shadow. Made of metal, it had long, sharp legs, glowing red eyes, and a shifting armor surface. It moved fast, scanning for Kalira's DNA signal. Inside, Ethan and Kalira reached the command room. A 3D map showed the drone's position already breaching the outer gate. "We can't stop that thing with hand weapons," one fighter said. "We don't need to destroy it," Ethan replied. "We just need to outsmart it," he pointed at the lower mining tunnels on the map. "These tunnels lead to a collapsed shaft," he said. "I remember this kind of drone. It's fast, but not careful. We lure it there, trigger the collapse, and bury it." Kalira stepped forward. "I will be the bait." Ethan turned quickly. "No," she stood tall. "It hunts me. I must lead it." He stared at her for a moment, then sighed. "Fine, but I'm staying by your side." "Then we do this together," she said. The plan was simple but dangerous. Kalira activated a small beacon with her DNA signal and strapped it to her arm. With Ethan guiding her, she moved through the lower tunnel using one crutch and a side rail. Behind them, the drone entered the base. It tore through defenses, ignoring guards and alarms. It moved with one goal: eliminate the royal bloodline. Ethan and Kalira reached the edge of the collapse zone. The ceiling above was weak, held in place by old support beams. Explosives were set. The drone moved closer. Its sharp claws clanged on the floor. Its voice spoke in a cold, mechanical tone. "Target confirmed. Eliminating." Kalira didn't move. Ethan stood beside her, blaster ready. "Now," he shouted. Kalira tapped her wrist. Explosives triggered. Boom. The tunnel shook. Rocks fell. Dust filled the air. The drone gave a sharp metallic cry as the roof collapsed on it. Silence followed, then movement. A glowing red light in the rubble. The drone was still alive, half buried, crawling forward. Ethan ran forward, jumped on top of the pile, and fired his blaster into the core. Sparks flew with one final blast. The drone stopped moving. Dead. Cheers erupted across the base. Kalira sat against the wall, breathing hard. Her body ached, but she smiled. "You did it?" she said. "No," Ethan replied, kneeling beside her. "We did it." Guards helped carry her back to the med bay. Her legs were shaking. She'd used too much energy, but the resistance had seen everything. She didn't hide behind walls. She faced death and stood tall. Later that night, Kalira sat, alone in her private chamber, looking out a small window. Stars twinkled in the sky above Varney's. Ethan entered quietly. "You should be resting," he said. "I wanted to see the stars," she replied. He sat beside her. "The people trust you." "Now," he said. "You gave them hope." She turned to him. "You gave me the chance." Ethan looked into her eyes. "You're stronger than you think." Kalira touched her side, where the DNA beacon had burned a small mark into her skin. "The bond between us is more than chance," she said. Ethan was quiet for a moment. Then he asked, "What happens next?" Kalira took a breath. "We rebuild. We reach out to other worlds. And I make an offer." He raised an eyebrow. "What kind of offer?" She looked at him, soft but serious. "In our culture, a royal who is saved by someone of great honor may choose to continue the line not by politics or war, but by unity. A child, born from two worlds." Ethan's eyes widened. "You mean—" "Do not ask this lightly," she said, "but I feel it. A future. A bond. A new beginning." Ethan didn't speak for a long time. Then he reached out and held her hand. "I don't know what kind of father I'd be," he said softly, "but I'd stand with you. Always." Her smile glowed brighter than the stars. Ethan Voss stood near the edge of the base's outer wall. Watching the sky, the stars above Varney's were quiet, but tension filled the air. Messages were coming in from every direction. Sorellan resistance groups, once silent, were now waking up. When they heard that Princess Kalira was alive and walking, they started rising again. She was more than a survivor now. She was a symbol of hope. But the Zarn, Synegate responded fast. One message from a border system made it clear: any world that shelters Kalira or her protector will face full military destruction. Earth included. Ethan read it twice. So Earth wasn't neutral anymore. Not after this. Inside the council chamber, Keelara stood with pride, her crutches beside her but unused. She was walking now slowly with effort, but fully upright. The resistance leaders around her watched with amazement. A medic had confirmed it. Her body was healing much faster than expected. The fusion of her Cerulean tech and Ethan's Earth-based repairs had created something new inside her strange. A mix of science, resilience, and recovery. One of the leaders, a woman named Commander Virel, stepped forward. "There is an old Cerulean legend," she said. "It speaks of a broken heir, saved by fire, who will return with a guide from the stars of Flameborn. Together, they will restore the light." Many in the room looked at Ethan. "Me," he said, confused. Keelara nodded. "Not about fire but spirit. A soul that burns with courage." You fit the words, Ethan? He rubbed the back of his neck. "I'm just a guy with a half-working ship and a stubborn heart." She smiled. "That's exactly what we needed." Later, Ethan worked in the ship's engine room, tightening bolts and cleaning filters. His mind was full of questions. War, destiny, a child, a future. He wasn't sure he was ready for all this. Keelara entered quietly, her steps light. "You're thinking too hard?" she said. "I'm trying to fix the engine." She leaned against the wall. "You're also trying to fix the world." He looked up at her. "Should I be scared?" "Yes," she said with a soft laugh. "What? But you're still here?" They sat together on a small bench, the hum of the ship in the background. She turned to him. "I want to rebuild the Empire, but not alone. I want a future that includes you." Ethan nodded, and the child Keelara took his hand. "Just for tradition, I want our bloodlines to mix. Our child could be a bridge between Earth and Sorella. Between war and peace." He was silent for a moment, then said, "You really believe in this?" "I believe in us." The next morning, the Resistance launched their biggest mission yet. Keelara and Ethan led a strike team to the Czarn's flagship science station. Hidden lab where they had created the hunter drones and experimented on Royal. DNA. The goal: destroy the lab and recover Keelara's true genetic signature, which had been corrupted when she was attacked. Inside the lab, the air was cold. Bright lights, silver walls, and security drones everywhere. Ethan moved with skill, disabling cameras, dodging alarms. Keelara followed, walking steadily with a staff and hand part weapon, part support. They reached the main chamber in the center. It was a tall glass pod filled with glowing blue liquid. Inside it floated a core Keelara's true genetic data. Extracted long ago and now used by the Syndicate for experiments, a voice echoed from the walls. "So, the Broken Princess returns." Tall alien with dark armor stepped forward. The Czarn scientist who led the project. His arms were metal, his face half machine. "I built the device that shattered your spine," he said coldly. "You were supposed to die." Keelara stood tall, "And yet here I am." Ethan raised his blaster. "Want to test your luck again?" Scientist laughed. "You're just a human." "Exactly." Ethan Sedan fired. The room exploded into chaos. Guards rushed in. Keelara spun her staff, knocking one down. Ethan shot two others and grabbed the core from the tank. Keelara placed the core into a secure container on her back. "We need to reach the roof for extraction," she shouted. They ran through halls, smoke and sparks around them. At the top of the lab, the exit door was blocked by another hunter, drone, bigger and stronger than the first. Ethan turned to Keelara. "Go, I'll hold it off." But she stepped forward instead. "No, this time I fight." She activated her staff, now glowing with energy. Her spine implant pulsed. The fusion of Earth and Cerulean tech inside her created a new power. She jumped. The drone struck, but she blocked it with her staff. Ethan helped, blasting its side. Together, they pushed it toward the edge. Keelara yelled, spinning her staff in a full circle, hitting the drone's core. Boom. The drone exploded, flying off the roof. They stood together, breathing hard. As a resistance shuttle landed beside them, back on Varney's, the recovered core was uploaded into Keelara's body. The moment it synced, her back glowed softly and her healing became complete. No more crutches, no more weakness. The Empire's heir was whole again. The people watched as she stepped forward. With Ethan by her side, I am no longer the broken. Princess, she said loudly, I am the flame-born empress, and I do not rise alone. She turned to Ethan. He is not of our world, but he is of our future. Together, we will rebuild. Together, we will lead. Cheers filled the air. That night, Kalira and Ethan stood under the stars again. You still sure? He asked. She took his hand. We will raise a child together, a child born of Earth and Sorella, a symbol of unity. Ethan smiled. Then let's build a world worth giving them. The stars above Sorella Prime were glowing softly. But trouble was rising fast. Inside the resistance base on Varnes, Princess Kalira stood before a large hologram. The image showed a fleet of silver warships approaching her homeworld. Not Zarn ships. They were Sirellan royal loyalists, noble families, who once ruled beside her parents. They had refused to accept her return. These families believe I am still weak, Kalira said, voice steady. They think I have changed too much, that I have no right to the throne. Ethan stood beside her, arms crossed. Because of me? Kalira nodded. They hate that a human helped save me, that I now fight for unity, not control. Commander Virel frowned. If they strike first, our people will lose hope again. We must stop them. Kalira looked at Ethan. We can't fight our own people. We need another way. Ethan paused, then an idea formed. What if we go to them? He asked. Not with weapons, but with proof. Let them see who you are now, what you stand for. Kalira thought for a moment, then smiled. A royal challenge. We call it the trial of lineage. If I pass, they must accept me as empress. Ethan raised an eyebrow. And what's the trial? It's a test of truth, memory, and leadership. Held on the ancient throne station above Sorella Prime, Commander Virel shook her head, but it's under loyalist control. Kalira stood tall. Then we take a small team. Just enough to enter in peace. Ethan nodded. Count me in. Ow. 2 days later, Kalira's ship approached the orbit of Sorella Prime. The ancient throne station floated like a giant silver crown above the planet. It was a place of history full of memories. Kalira wore a dark royal robe. Her spinal device no longer glowed brightly, but it was still there now, fully stable. A symbol of her survival, Ethan wore simple armor, marked with both Earth and Sirellan symbols. He didn't need to speak much anymore. People knew who he was, the man who stood by the Empress. They docked carefully, stepping onto the throne station's old marble floor. Dozens of guards stood ready, but no one attacked. At the center of the hall stood 3 noble leaders' stall, proud, cold. Kalira of House Serranus, one of them spoke. You return with strange company. What makes you believe you can rule? Kalira walked forward without fear, because I still carry the truth. And because I survived what none of you dared face? The nobles frowned. You broke tradition, another said. You bonded with a human. You mixed technology. You abandoned Sirellan ways. No, she said firmly. I chose what was. Right. The first noble pointed to Ethan. This outsider has no place here. Kalira turned. He has every place. He is my protector, my chosen. The father of the child who will carry both our bloodlines. A sharp silence filled the room. Kalira stepped onto the central platform. I claim the right to the trial of lineage, she said loudly. Now, before the throne of my ancestors. The trial was ancient and sacred. Kalira stood inside a ring of light. Holograms of past rulers surrounded her, asking questions one by one. Her answers had to show wisdom, memory, and heart. She spoke of her parents, of their values. She spoke of war, of loss, of pain. Then she spoke of Ethan. He did not come to steal power. He came to help. He saved me not with weapons, but with kindness. He gave me strength when I had none. Her voice shook slightly. Some call me broken. But I was never broken. I was rising. A ring of light glowed bright. The holograms faded. The trial was passed. Outside the chamber, Ethan waited. Clara stepped out, eyes glowing with pride. "It's done," she said. "They accepted me." Ethan smiled. "Then it's time to rebuild." But just as they prepared to return, an alarm rang out. A large Zarn warship had entered orbit. It had followed Kalira's signal, one final attempt to end the royal line. The throne station was locked down. Ethan ran to the control deck. "We need defense shields. We have no weapons," technician yelled. "The nobles deactivated them years ago." Kalira stepped forward. "Then we send a message." She opened the ship's main channel. Her face appeared on every screen near the station and across allied ships in orbit. "I am Kalira Serranis," she said, strong and clear. "I do not hide. I do not run. I face this threat not as a broken heir, but as Empress." The resistance, fleet, small but loyal, responded. Ships from nearby systems joined. Even Earth sent a small defense group. Cold ships, but reliable. The Zarn warship turned and fled. The war was over. 1 week later, on the rebuilt throne station, a ceremony was held. Kalira was crowned Empress before a crowd of thousands. Her robes shimmered. Her posture was tall. Her eyes bright. Beside her stood Ethan, no longer just a human scavenger. "You're now known as the Flame-born Guardian." When the crown touched her head, a cheer rang out across the stars. Then she turned to Ethan. "In the name of unity," she said, "we begin a new path. A path shared by both Earth and Sorella." He took her hand gently. "And in the name of love," she added softly, "we begin a family." Later that night, they stood on the balcony, watching 2 moons rise. Kalira placed a hand on her stomach. "It has begun," she said with a warm smile. "Our child is growing." Ethan wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "Then we have a lot of work to do," he said. "Yes," she replied. "But this time, we build not just an empire, we build a future worth living for." They looked out across the stars. 2 hearts, 2 worlds.